everybody, it's JB. I just wanted to get on video because I've been hearing some things and seeing some things, and I just want to relay my own observations as well as announcers, judges, spectators, everyone who was watching the last Street League. And I want to just get some things straight because I feel like a lot of people don't have an honest perspective of what we look at as judges and where the sport is headed right now. So I want to just talk about Street League drifting for those who are Street League drifters, prospective Street League guys, and just guys in general in our pub wanting to get better at drifting, and kind of what we're looking at and what makes drifting cool. So Street League, what does it exist for? You guys know, it's fun times driving with your friends, cool cars, and just giving the crowd and your friends and yourself a show. I mean, it's for you all. So with that, we want you guys to have as much as you can. And there's a lot of angst at the last event, and not the exciting driving that we like to look for and we want to see you guys having, because, well, us as the folks who run the event and the judges, we want this to be fun for us, and if it's not fun for you, it's not fun for us. And then we're starting to ask yourself questions like, why do we even do this? So I just want to get some things straight, point some things out, what we're looking for, what we want to see happen going in the future, because we can kind of see just from this Street League and the previous one, which was Volume 8, a lot of things have changed. So obviously every sport evolves, right? You can't have a sport get popular without some sort of change towards the times. I've seen drifting for 20 years, I've been driving for 20 years, a lot has changed in the space. So especially when we've brought competition back to Midwest drifting, people want to compete, right? So Street League, yeah, it's excited driving, but in the end, it's still a competition, right? Someone wants to win. Everyone should want to win, and it's, the give and take, and how much competitive blood you have in your system versus how much you want to have fun. And if you want to take all of the fun out of it and just be one of those competitive people that spits at the person in the pit next to you, it's not the place for you, and I don't want to see it go to that direction. We weren't seeing a lot with attitude, but it mostly comes with car setup and driving style, right? So everyone wants to level up, change their cars to be more competitive. And if you just look at the stuff we do, we have tons of events. At our events, you get tons of seat time. You guys are going out to other competitions, learning from other drivers. We have clinics, and some of you in the past 2 years have driven with Chelsea and learned from him in his classroom sessions and how to level up your car, and then getting out to the track and how to drive with your car with those level ups and changing certain things like alignment, suspension, engine stuff to get more grip out of a car, be more competitive, get closer, right? So all of you want to do that, and we can see that. It's very obvious. We've seen the evolution from 2019 when we started Street League all the way until now. People have leveled up their cars, leveled up their driving. I think you guys can say that there's pretty much not someone out there driving in Street League that has stayed the same the whole time. I know Colty is Mr. Consistent, but even he has leveled up his car, bigger turbo, more power, more aggressive driving. Things change, right? So let's get into what we saw at the last Street League that just happened a few weeks ago. It's not a negative shift overall, but we're seeing some things that could make this competition and what we do in Street League, I wouldn't say necessarily become a problem, but make the driving to the spectators and everyone watching suck, and makes you suck at drivers because you're compensating for something that you don't have, right? So we're not Formula D. Most of you guys, all of you guys don't have Formula D cars. You don't have 1,000, 1,200 horsepower cars, so there's only so much grip that you can dial into a car, right? So if you have a stock 350Z, and you throw all the grip into it, you won't even be able to initiate and drift, right? So what we're seeing is a lot of guys that are riding that fine line of not being able to drift, their cars not being able to drift anymore because they're too gripped up, and being able to drift the car. So it's almost like the car doesn't want to drift, but you guys have tuned it in such a way where it barely does. So let me explain what we're seeing. So the big takeaways from what we saw that we didn't like at the last event, a lot of guys with shallow angle, almost no angle at all, diving and surging to get on people's doors. It was awful, and just too much grip and low angle, and it just makes for a bad show. I can name 3 battles this past weekend that were not double zeros, like for real. If you guys want to go off of traditional rules with straightening, big corrections, and spin outs, all of your top drivers earned zeros but got through. There weren't that many matches, and the matches that did kick ass were all in the top 32, maybe one in the top 16 with Alec and Seth. After that, it was just a lot of overcompensating for cars that were gripped up too much to try to compete and win and go fast. And we've heard a lot of things. I'm not calling anyone out, but I had proximity, or I had him beat online, or any number of things. I want to show you guys what this looks like from us. So I've got Kilcare right here, crudely drawn up with the 2 best drift cars in existence, obviously, in RX-7 and DeLorean DMC-12. Can't get better than that. Don't even try to prove me wrong. But a lot of you guys are sitting here right at the entryway, right? You have an aspect of the track like this. Judges are up here. We're looking down at it like this. So I can see here, I can see here, and I can see here. Yeah, I can't see back here, so it's tough for me to see what the follow driver is doing back here. But for the most part, as the judges, this vantage point proves very advantageous for us. If we were over here, we really couldn't see anything in the back. Plus, the cars through the transition are pointed straight at us. I can't see a whole lot of aspect there and how cars are angling into each other. So let's just take a look at the first problem that I noticed, and this was the initiation. So we told you all that we were judging this initiation. You have your lead driver come wide, and you have another driver clip the inside here to try to dive in on this driver. So what does that do? The proper line, like I said, was to come wide, not cut the inside, because when you come wide, you need to be able to come out to hit this outer zone, right? If you really cut this inside here, it puts your car here in a really weird situation to somehow dig out and make that outer zone there. It's not good. So what we were seeing in tandems is you have a guy who's out here, a guy cutting in to try to get on his door, right? I gotta get close, I gotta get proximity, right? So what does he do? This guy comes out, this guy swings in and drives straight, because, well, if he comes out and drifts, he's gonna go in the dirt and he's not gonna make this clip here, even though he should be following this guy, right? That's all you should be worrying about, is the person you're following. So compensating for that, he's just driving straight here, so when the person transitions back, then he reinitiates and gets on the quarter panel. We're seeing a lot of that at the last event. A lot of people basically diving and driving from that initiation, and that was our biggest problem at the event. It was where the most corrections was at this initiation right here. Another thing that we saw, we don't want to accuse anyone of this, but we don't want to say that people are weaponizing the entry, right? We put this entry here to make a level playing field for all cars. Big power, small power. It's a choking point here so you guys can stack up and get close, right? So another thing we were seeing is the lead driver comes in, stays wide. You actually have a follow driver on his door, right? What the lead driver does here, cranks a ton of angle to where the follow driver is like, where do I go? Because if I dive in, I have dirt here and I'm going backwards, and the follow driver parks it, or the lead driver parks it. So what does the follow driver do? He can't really do much, but at the last second, the lead driver dumps the clutch and digs out, which usually either cause this person to spin or this person to stop, have to correct up, shoot in, and reinitiate, right? Also not cool. I know that some of you guys are running huge turbos on your car. Yeah, you might fall off boost. It happens, we understand. We just don't want to see that in competition. If we do see that, the lead driver is going to be at fault even though the follow driver messed up. There are a couple examples of it this weekend, which we sent one more times. We didn't want to get into a dicey situation where from this vantage point, people see like, oh, this guy spun, you know, how did he move on? Well, this guy choked him out, completely stopped his drift to where this guy had nowhere to go. He could either spin out or stop and reinitiate. It makes a really sticky situation for this person. Don't put your buddies in that situation. That sucks. And if you do, you know, accept your loss or go back to the line and just say, hey, I messed up, sorry, okay? The other mistake that we were seeing is through this inner clip right here. Had a lot of guys hitting that inner clip, and a lot of people, again, looked like they were too gripped up. So if you take a stockish 350Z or a Miata with 180 horsepower, and you grip them up, it's very tough to keep those tires spinning and staying close to a car where you should be on the quarter panel, right? So what was happening is these guys through the transition, when they were coming here, their cars were biting up, and as the lead driver was going through, they were straightening up and diving. Saw a lot of that, which brings me to my next point. Throughout the entire course, there were many drivers, some of which were in the top, some of which were in the mid, some of which were in the bottom of the stack, that were surging a lot. It was painfully obvious, and I think some people didn't understand why they got knocked out or why they got hit on it, because it is so disgusting to watch from up here because it looks like a slinky, all right? So when you take someone right here and they're transitioning and you're staying, they're coming through their drift right here. Hey, I'm gonna dive because I wanna get their door. I don't wanna get their quarter panel. So you hug into this pocket, and then this person transitions and this person stays slow right here. And then once the lead driver is here, they decide to dive again towards the door, reinitiate, and get here. Again, we could see it when they were coming through here. With the transition right here, they were waiting, slowing up, almost straightening. When they started their drift here, they dive, door. You guys see the difference here. When you're a follow driver, if you get up to someone's door and they're about to transition, so say we're right here, right? When they're about to transition, you need to suck way back up and then move back up. It's a lot of movement to be on the door, come back, move over, and come up. Especially on a tight course like Kilcare. What you should be doing is quarter panel, because when this person transitions, you can already start to judge that. Get out of the pocket a little bit, run around the bumper, and then get back here. It's really ugly if you're trying to hit doors here every time and you've got a car that's insanely gripped up. It doesn't work. It basically looks like you're hanging back for them to make their transition, and once they maintain a drift, then you get up to their door and hang out there. Well, they're about to transition, I'm gonna fall back. Cool, they've established their drift, I'm gonna get back up there. Oh, they're about to transition, I'm gonna fall back. And it's just this slinky thing back and forth that is not cool. Like that, I don't care who you are, that is a huge zero. Whether you're in Formula D, any competition, Pro-Am stuff, 50K stuff, it's ugly. You as a follow driver, one of the biggest things, the only thing I say we're looking at is you're mimicking the following driver with fluidity. Doing this is not fluid. It's not one fluid motion. It should be a nice back and forth, right? That's what people want to see. It doesn't look ugly, all right? And the last thing that we saw, a lot of it was here on the bank, you got a car that's far too gripped up, right, on the bank. That should be cool, right? So you got one car, quarter panel. Looks cool, right? Well, this is a lot of what we saw. Little to no angle, riding the door all the way around, because this car is too gripped up, and if he starts drifting, he's gonna let this guy fall back to catch up. Give yourself some damn wheel speed to be able to suck up into that car. If we see this, it looks terrible. You can see it in pictures already. It's not a good look for just the overall competition, especially if we're in like the top 4 folks. People in the top 4 shouldn't look like this when they're tandeming, okay? It's ugly. People see it from everywhere, okay? It is a 0 automatically. So what you guys need to get used to is having that aspect of the car proper, right? When you're drifting as a following driver, you're looking at the car in front of you, you're picking a spot, and you're shooting for where you're going, right? The car, no matter what car it is, should look the same aspect-wise in front of you, right? If that car starts to look like this in front of you, where you're seeing the whole side of the car, that means you have no angle, right? You want to see an aspect where the car is next to you and you're matching. If that's not matching up, if your aspects aren't matching up, you're not matching that lead driver. You're being a bad follow driver. The only thing you have to do as a follow driver to win the hearts of the judges and the crowd is be a good follow driver. Follow the damn car, okay? When you're doing this, it's bad. So, with that, going forward, I want to let you guys know that we didn't see this a whole lot at other Street League competitions. It was this event. I don't know if it was because of the rain, where a lot of you left a lot of grip in your car from the rain, dropping sway bars, lowering pressure, softening the rear, stiffening the front. But we could see a lot of people were really gripped up. I don't know if you guys are tuning in a bunch of grip because you want to compete. Yeah, you should want to compete, but there comes a point if you've got a stock G, there's only so much grip you can throw at it. You put too much in, yeah, you still might be able to drift, but you look like shit. That's really bad. You guys need to find a fine line between that where, yeah, you can still get grip, but we want you to look good while you're tandeming too. If you're too gripped up to maintain quarter panel to fender, you're not getting enough wheel speed lighting up when you should be, and you're having to dive at that car and left foot brake a ton and rip that e-brake because all you're full of is corrections to try to stay close to this guy because you just don't have the wheel speed to move your car where you want to. It wants to go forward. You're fighting your car with corrections and using your left foot brake and e-brake. Yeah, you need to use that to correct while in tandem, but you shouldn't have to use it because you can't maintain proximity and angle to the car next to you. So going forward, Volume 10 and future Street Leagues, with whatever we decide to do, we're going to be looking at this stuff. If we see you guys straightening to try to get ground, you're getting a 0, you're getting points off. If we see you guys surging and, like I said before, trying to get doors, right here is the only place, if you want to get a freaking door, get it here. Because you're coming out of the last turn, there's no more transitions, and yeah, you can creep up to that person's door. You can see what they're doing if you want to see, their face, and whatever they're doing, do it there. That's the place to suck up, get a door, I don't care, work it out with the driver. But it's not the place through the rest of the course, especially through the infield where stuff is tight, because it's ugly. So if we see you surging and diving and trying to get doors, it's not working out, 0, we're deducting that. Hey, if you somehow get it to work out because you have loosened the grip up and you're fluidly moving in and out of the pocket side to side and you're not damaging the car in front of you, by all means, if you're able to do that and it looks good, cool. But it's probably not going to be able to happen through a tight course like this. You're probably going to need to have a really wide course that's really fast with really slow transitions that you can move back and forth. Yeah, everything else, we want to see angle. We want to see you properly doing follow runs. Lead drivers, I really, when you guys were leading, I had nothing to complain about. You guys were actually filling all the zones. The only thing I had complaints about for the lead drivers were choking up right here. It didn't happen a whole lot. It was mostly the follow drivers straightening up to try to catch that lead. Yeah, again, going forward, we're looking at all this stuff. We see it from the judges' booth. But it's tough when your entire top 16 is doing the same thing. You're all low angle, too gripped up, surging, being on doors when you shouldn't be. We would have been there for 2 days, if we just kept sending you guys one more times, giving you guys double zeros. Though a lot of the one more times weren't because the run was badass and we couldn't figure it out. It was because the run was so messed up because each of you during your follow did terrible. And it was like, well, they both did great lead runs, but both of their follow runs were trash. Like, do we judge who had the least trashiest run? Or do we go by our standards, which is like, hey, those people zeroed, but this person zeroed. So it's double zeros for everyone. Every time, it's, hey, let's send them one more time. Let's send them one more time again. Don't put it in that situation. Just beat the driver fair and square. You've seen it other street leagues. Guys can drive with not a whole lot of grip and still get really close to other cars. I've seen it before, you guys. I know you can do this. Let's try to make this cooler, make it better. Consider this a hiccup. If you guys want to grip the hell out of your cars and go drive competitions, make sure you got enough power to do it and go drive those competitions. If you're driving a stock 350Z or 100 horsepower E36 or G35 or Miata, you can't do much. Guys, I don't know. We were at our wits' end towards the end of the competition. It was the only one I was like, what's going on? So let's change for the better, improve ourselves, change your driving, make a show for your friends in the crowd, okay? This is, again, Street League is for you. We did this for you guys. It's cool cars, cool competition, cool driving. That's all I have to say. If you have any questions, contact myself or TR for judging questions. Derek can weigh in on some stuff as well on what we're looking for. It's pretty specific. We mentioned all this stuff at the drivers meeting anyways. This shouldn't be a surprise, and this goes for any competition. But I'll sign off tonight and let you guys think about it and let me know if you got anything. See you guys.